She lost her unborn baby in a deliberately tampered car crash, then she exposed a cruel family plot behind the cut brake line. In winter, Richmond, Virginia, frost covered the street trees as people hurried past with their coat collars turned up. Lisa Coleman typed the last sentence of her article from her window seat, watching the busy people below. She had established herself as a veteran reporter in the economics department of the Richmond Herald. Mary Johnson, her colleague from the neighboring desk, called out, "Lisa, I finished proofreading today's financial article." She was one of Lisa's few close friends. "Thank you. I need to finish analyzing the quarterly financial results for local businesses today." Lisa smiled, then quietly added, "And I need to see Dr. Watson this afternoon." Mary's expression softened. She was one of the few people who knew Lisa's secret. "How's it going?" Lisa placed a hand on her still flat stomach and nodded slightly. "I'm entering my 6th month. I should tell my family soon." Anxiety swirled in her heart. A year ago, her relationship with David had suddenly ended after 7 years of dating and an engagement. He had disappeared from her life, saying he wanted more freedom. Ironically, she discovered she was pregnant after they broke up. Lisa had debated whether to tell David, but ultimately did not contact him. What he wanted was freedom, not responsibility. She had resolved to raise the child alone, but still could not find the courage to tell her family. She was especially worried about her mother Margaret's reaction. A central figure in Richmond society, her mother was highly regarded as a philanthropist, but behind that lay strict moral views and traditional values. Lisa recalled her mother's words that had echoed in her mind. "Having a child out of wedlock is unthinkable. You have your mother's charity event tonight, right?" Mary asked. Lisa sighed. "Yes, another boring evening begins. My sister Jennifer is coming too." Jennifer worked at a major local real estate company. She had married 2 years ago but was going through fertility treatments. Understanding her sister's struggles made it even more difficult to share news of her own pregnancy. "What does your doctor say?" Mary asked with concern. "The baby is healthy. The doctor is very kind and always encourages me." Lisa smiled. "She told me that although raising a child alone would be difficult, I could do it." Meeting Dr. Watson had been a salvation for Lisa. Thanks to her support and professional advice, Lisa was gradually overcoming her anxieties about the future. Recently, she had begun collecting small clothes and necessities for the baby. In the evening, Lisa left the office. Her regular checkup at the obstetrician went well, with Dr. Sarah Watson telling her that mother and child are both healthy. "It is time to tell your family," the doctor said kindly as Lisa was leaving. "I know. I plan to tell them this weekend," Lisa replied. After her mother's charity event, on her way home, Lisa sat quietly thinking in her car. She rehearsed in her mind the words she would use to tell her mother and sister about the pregnancy. She gently placed her right hand on her stomach and whispered, "We will be just fine." As she drove along the darkening road, her cell phone suddenly rang. Answering on hands-free, she heard her mother's voice. "Lisa, could you come a little early for tonight's event? We have a special guest coming." "All right, Mother." As Lisa replied, she approached a curve in the mountain road. Fallen leaves covered the road and the dim twilight made visibility poor. The next moment, she was forced to slam on the brakes. But the brakes did not work. Terror shot through her entire body. She desperately tried to control the car, but it became unmanageable, breaking through the guardrail and plunging down the cliff. "My baby." That was her last thought before losing consciousness. An ambulance siren cut through the night stillness. From the car that had fallen down the cliff, paramedics carefully extracted Lisa's unconscious body. Blood flowed from her face, and there was obvious bruising on her abdomen. At Richmond General Hospital's emergency center, a team was already waiting. Lisa was immediately taken to the operating room where doctors fought desperately to save her life and that of her unborn child. "Mistress Coleman, your daughter is all right. She is in surgery now, and we are doing our best," said head nurse Nancy Clark, explaining the situation to Margaret Coleman in the hospital lounge. Jennifer sat beside her mother. Both were still dressed in their formal attire for the charity event. Margaret's voice trembled. "Pregnant? What are you talking about?" The head nurse looked confused. "Lisa is 6 months pregnant. It was noted next to your name, which was registered as her emergency contact." Margaret and Jennifer exchanged shocked glances. "We did not know," Jennifer said softly. Her expression revealed complex emotions. Despite the doctor's desperate efforts, the surgery ended with a sad result. Lisa survived, but the fetus was lost due to the impact of the accident. Lisa had suffered serious injuries and remained unconscious for 3 days. On the 4th morning, Lisa finally opened her eyes. Her eyelids felt heavy, and her entire body was wrapped in pain. As her vision cleared, she could see the dim lighting of the hospital room and the weak light coming through the window. Her mother and sister were sitting beside the bed. "Lisa!" Jennifer exclaimed. "You have finally woken up." Margaret took her daughter's hand and said, "The doctors were worried." Her voice lacked its usual strictness, replaced by an unnatural gentleness. Lisa asked in a hoarse voice, "What happened?" "A car accident," Margaret answered. "You fell off a cliff. You were very lucky." Lisa's memory gradually returned. Suddenly, she was gripped by fear. Weakly, she reached toward her abdomen, touching her now flat stomach. Tears filled her eyes. The baby. That was all she could manage to say. A heavy silence filled the hospital room. Margaret sighed deeply. "The baby did not make it," she announced calmly. "But it is better that way if you are single." Lisa could not believe her mother's words. Jennifer added with a small laugh, "Having a baby out of wedlock would be too embarrassing, right?" A sharp pain shot through Lisa's chest. It was not a physical pain, but a pain in her heart caused by her mother and sister's cold words. She turned her face away and silently wept. "Why did you not tell us?" Margaret asked. "Whose child was it?" "That David." Lisa did not answer. Her mother's question was laden with accusation. It was not a question, but a blame. The past tense in whose child was, it also caused her intense pain. "It is okay, Lisa." Jennifer placed a hand on her sister's shoulder. "This was God's providence. You are still young, and someday you can have a family the right way." The right way. Those words lingered in Lisa's ears. Was what she had intended to do the wrong way? Was raising a child alone something to be ashamed of? Margaret stood up and said, "Rest now. We will come back later." As the two left the room, Nurse Nancy entered. Noticing Lisa's tears, she gently took her hand. "It is all right, Miss Coleman. It is okay to cry." "My baby," Lisa's voice choked. "You heard from your family," Nancy said sadly. "The impact of the accident was too severe, but you survived. That alone is a miracle." Lisa quietly asked, "Does Dr. Sarah Watson know about this?" "She is my doctor. We have contacted her. She will be here tomorrow." Those words gave Lisa a small sense of comfort. Dr. Sarah Watson would understand her and share in her grief. She would not make cold judgments like her mother and sister. That afternoon, as Lisa was dozing, there was a knock at the door. Opening her eyes, she saw an unfamiliar man standing there. "Miss Coleman, excuse me, I am Detective James Ryan from the Richmond Police." He had tired eyes but wore a kind expression. "Police?" Lisa asked weakly. "Is there a problem?" Detective Ryan sat down and said quietly, "We are investigating your accident. After examining the scene and your car, we found some concerning issues." Lisa looked confused. "What do you mean, Miss Coleman?" Detective Ryan looked straight into her eyes. This accident might not have been an accident at all. Those words echoed heavily in the hospital room. Confused thoughts swirled in Lisa's head. Not an accident. What did that mean? "There are signs that the brake line was deliberately cut." The detective continued quietly. "Someone may have tried to harm you." Lisa was speechless. Who would want to hurt her? And if so, they had targeted not just her but her unborn baby as well. Just as Detective Ryan was about to continue, the hospital room door opened again. Margaret and Jennifer had returned. "Who might you be?" Margaret asked, not hiding her weariness. "Detective Ryan from Richmond Police." He stood up and showed his badge. "I am investigating your daughter's accident." "The accident," Margaret's voice was cold. "Is police involvement necessary?" "Standard procedure," Detective Ryan answered matter-of-factly. However, his eyes carefully observed Margaret and Jennifer. Detective Ryan explained in a calm voice, "After thoroughly examining the car, we found traces indicating the brake line was deliberately cut. This is unlikely to be an accidental failure." "That cannot be," Jennifer interjected. "Who would do such a thing to my sister? It does not make sense." Lisa silently listened to their exchange. Though confused, she felt something was not right. "Have you received any threats recently?" the detective asked Lisa. "Given your profession, you might have made enemies." Lisa shook her head. "I write economic articles, but I cannot think of any particular problems. You are exaggerating." Margaret folded her arms. "It was an old car, was it not? There must have been a mechanical failure." "Miss Coleman's car is a 3-year-old model that was inspected at an authorized dealer 2 weeks ago," Detective Ryan said, looking at his notebook. "According to the maintenance records, there were no issues with the brake system." The color drained from Margaret's face. "So what? The investigation is still in its early stages," the detective said quietly. "I would like to speak with Miss Coleman in more detail when she has recovered." Margaret stood up and said, "My daughter needs rest. Please save any further questions for another time." Detective Ryan handed Lisa his card and said, "If you remember anything, please contact me anytime," then left the room. After the door closed, Margaret sighed. What a waste of time. The police always overreact. "Mom, let us go." Jennifer took her mother's arm. "Lisa needs rest too." It was clear to Lisa that they both wanted to leave the room quickly. "I will come back tomorrow," they said as they hurried out. Alone, Lisa reflected on the detective's words. Not an accident. Someone had deliberately tried to hurt her, and as a result, her unborn baby had lost its life. Tears flowed from her eyes again. The next morning, Mary visited the hospital room. Her arms held a bouquet of flowers and a small stuffed animal. "Lisa." Mary rushed to her friend's side. "I was so worried." They shared a long embrace. Mary's warmth contrasted with the cold encounter with her family. "I heard about the baby," Mary said quietly. "It must be so hard." Lisa nodded. For the first time, she felt someone was genuinely acknowledging her loss. "Mother and my sister." Lisa searched for words. They seemed to think the baby was a disgrace. How terrible. Mary was indignant. How could they say such things? Lisa also told her about the police investigation. Mary's expression turned serious. "So, someone deliberately tried to hurt you?" "That is what the detective said." Lisa nodded. "But who would want to?" Mary pondered. "Is there anyone with a grudge? Someone you angered during your reporting?" Lisa shook her head. "I cannot think of anyone. And even if they targeted me, the baby too." Her voice broke. "I will support you." Mary squeezed her friend's hand firmly. "Always, from now on." Those words brought warmth to Lisa's heart. In the afternoon, Dr. Sarah Watson visited the hospital room. Deep sadness was etched on her face. "Lisa, I am truly sorry," she said quietly. "When I think about the baby, I am glad you came." Lisa smiled weakly. "No one here understands how I feel." Dr. Watson sat down and took Lisa's hand. "I met your mother and sister. They are worried about you, but they are happy," Lisa said bitterly. "Happy that I will not be an unwed mother. People express grief in different ways," Dr. Watson said gently. "Perhaps they are coping in their own way." Lisa sighed. "Did you know the police are investigating? Apparently, someone deliberately damaged my brakes." Surprise colored Dr. Watson's face. "Really? That is unbelievable. I do not understand who would want to hurt me. Let us focus on your recovery." "Now," Dr. Watson returned to her professional demeanor. "Your physical recovery is the priority. Leave it to the police." That evening, Detective Ryan visited again. Before he entered the room, Lisa could hear him arguing with Margaret in the hallway. "My daughter is still weak. This is not the time for questions. I understand, but this is an important investigation." The detective's voice was resolute. Margaret seemed to finally give in, and the detective entered the room alone. "Your mother is a difficult person," he said with a small smile. "Mother has her own ways," Lisa answered vaguely. "I wanted to update you on our investigation," Detective Ryan said as he sat down. "Your car was definitely tampered with. The brake line was cut with professional tools." Lisa gasped. "Who would do such a thing? That is the question." The detective's expression turned serious. "When was the last time you had your car serviced?" 2 weeks ago, Lisa said slowly. "At Wilson Auto Service." The detective took notes. "I will investigate there." "Anything else you can remember? Any suspicious individuals around you recently?" Lisa shook her head. "Not really. I understand." The detective stood up. "I will look into it more. Take care." After the detective left, Lisa stared out the window. The sunset cast long shadows into the hospital room. Along with her sense of loss, her desire to know the truth grew stronger. She could never forgive whoever had taken her baby, whoever they might be. 3 days later, the doctors determined she had recovered enough to be moved to the general ward. While her physical wounds were healing gradually, her emotional wounds were still raw. On the day of her move, as a nurse helped pack her belongings, Lisa asked in a small voice, "What happened to my baby?" Nurse Nancy paused and answered sadly, "The remains are with the medical examiner. It is part of the accident investigation." "An autopsy?" Lisa was surprised. "Why? It is standard procedure when police investigation is involved," Nancy explained quietly. "When everything is complete, you can decide what you want to do for the baby." Lisa nodded. She wanted to hold a small funeral for the baby, even if her family would not understand. Before moving to the general ward, she placed her hand on her stomach one more time. There was no life there anymore, only emptiness. "I will not forget you," she quietly promised. On the day of her discharge, Lisa left the hospital with Mary's help. The doctors had said at least 2 weeks of rest is necessary, but Lisa's heart refused to rest. Her desire to know the truth about the accident grew stronger each day. "Mary, can we make a detour?" Lisa quietly asked as they got into the car. "Where do you want to go?" Mary looked at her friend with concern. "I want to see Detective Ryan." The Richmond police station was a solid stone building in the city center. When Lisa and Mary asked at the reception, Detective Ryan appeared immediately. "Miss Coleman, you have been discharged," the detective said, looking surprised. "But do you not still need rest?" "I want to know about the accident," Lisa said with determination. "My baby lost its life. I cannot just sit and wait." The detective led them to a small conference room. "Actually, I have new information." He spread a file on the desk. "I visited Wilson Auto Service, which inspected your car. According to their maintenance records, there were no issues with the brakes after inspection. So, someone tampered with it after the inspection. That is what we believe." The detective nodded. "Furthermore, an employee at the garage gave an interesting testimony. The day after your car was inspected, a middle-aged man came and asked questions about your car." Lisa frowned. "What kind of person?" "A tall, refined man in a gray suit. He said it was his daughter's car." "His daughter's?" Lisa repeated the words. "That is Mr. Jenkins. We think it might be your mother's driver." "But why would he?" "We are investigating," the detective said carefully. "I cannot say anything definitive yet." Mary squeezed Lisa's hand. "Lisa, can you believe it? Your own mother?" "I cannot believe it," Lisa said in a hoarse voice. "Mother is strict, but surely not." The detective continued quietly. "We questioned Mr. Jenkins. At first, he denied it, but he admitted to looking at your car. However, he claims he only checked the condition of the car. But why? That is the problem," the detective sighed. "We still do not see a motive. Do you know of anything with your mother or sister?" Lisa stared out the window. "Mother did not know about my pregnancy. At least I had not told her. But I have remembered something. 2 days before the accident, I was going to use the phone in Mother's study. I overheard her talking to someone. She said we cannot let her bring shame upon us. I did not understand what it meant at the time, but so she may have known about your pregnancy." Lisa covered her face with trembling hands. "But to do this to her own daughter, her grandchild, is such a thing possible?" the detective said while organizing his documents. "Evidence is accumulating. Please give us a little more time." The next day, Lisa was resting at home. On the surface, she was focusing on recovery after the accident, but in her heart, she was seeking the truth. The phone rang. It was Detective Ryan. "Miss Coleman, important evidence has emerged. Can you come right away?" At the police station, the detective showed Lisa a video. It was footage from an automated teller machine surveillance camera. "This is footage from the day before the accident." The screen showed Margaret's driver, Mr. Jenkins. He left the bank and approached a car parked in the corner of the parking lot. Another man was waiting there. "This man is Alex Morrison. He is a vehicle maintenance specialist, but he also does illegal work." The footage showed them exchanging something. "We caught Morrison," the detective said quietly. "He confessed. He took money from Mr. Jenkins to cut the brake line." Lisa was speechless, and the detective hesitated. "According to Morrison, Mr. Jenkins was acting on your mother's instructions." Lisa's world collapsed. Her own mother, her own life, her baby's life. "Was my sister involved too?" she asked in a hoarse voice. "That is not clear yet," the detective said. But I would like to speak with your mother and Mr. Jenkins. If you are willing, I would like you to be present." Lisa nodded. No matter how painful, she needed to know the truth. That afternoon, Margaret and Mr. Jenkins were called to the police station separately. "What is this about?" Margaret sat gracefully, not hiding her weariness. "I have charity event preparations." Detective Ryan explained Mr. Jenkins's confession and the evidence. The color drained from Margaret's face. "This is nonsense. Whatever Mr. Jenkins says, I am not involved," Lisa asked in a trembling voice. "Mother, why?" Margaret fell silent. "Mistress Coleman," the detective continued, "we checked your phone records. Conversations about your daughter's pregnancy are recorded calls with Jennifer." Margaret's expression hardened. Tampering with Lisa's car brakes may have been a mistake, but we had no choice. Lisa gasped. "No choice? When you try to take my life and my baby's, you do not understand." Margaret's voice trembled. "An unwed mother would ruin our social standing. The Coleman family's honor." "Honor!" Lisa stood up. "Is honor more important than my baby's life?" Margaret remained silent, averting her gaze. "Did Jennifer know too?" Margaret hesitated. "She knew about the plan, but I do not think she knew the details." Detective Ryan said quietly, "Margaret Coleman, I am arresting you on suspicion of attempted murder and fetal homicide." As she watched Margaret being taken away, Lisa's heart was filled with deep sadness and anger. Her own mother had taken her baby's life. She said in a small voice, "I want to see my sister too." The meeting with Jennifer would be even more painful, but Lisa was determined to face the truth. 1 year passed, and all the court proceedings were over. Margaret received a 10-year prison sentence, and her driver, Mr. Jenkins, received a 5-year sentence in a plea deal. Jennifer was ultimately not indicted due to insufficient evidence of conspiracy, but the family's collapse was unavoidable. She had left town and started a new life in another state. As they left the courthouse, the soft autumn sunlight enveloped them. "It is over," Lisa said quietly. "Justice has prevailed." Detective Ryan placed a hand on her shoulder. Over the past year, he had changed from a mere investigator to a friend, but Mother never regretted it until the end. Lisa's voice was tinged with sadness. She said it was for the family's honor. She was bound by her own values. Mary said, "But you are different." The three got into the car and headed for the suburbs. The autumn leaves visible through the car window shone beautifully. When they arrived at a small cemetery in the Richmond suburbs, Lisa took a bouquet of white roses. In the center was a small tombstone inscribed with Hope Coleman. Lisa had given that name to the baby who was never born. "Hope the trial is over." Lisa quietly addressed the stone as she placed the flowers before it. "Mommy is going to keep looking forward and living her life." After the three paid their silent respects, they headed to Lisa's new home. Mary's husband and Detective Ryan's sister were waiting. Over the past year, they had all become Lisa's support and her new family. "Cheers!" Mary's husband Tom raised his glass to new beginnings. Detective Ryan's sister Samantha said, "Lisa, I respect your strength." Lisa smiled. I was not alone. After the meal, Lisa took out a small box. Inside was a letter that had recently arrived. "It is from Jennifer," she said quietly. "She seems to have changed through the prison counseling program. She wrote words of reflection and apology." "Will you see her?" Mary asked. Someday, Lisa gazed out the window. "Not yet, but I do not intend to hate her forever." Detective Ryan quietly said, "Forgiving and forgetting are different things." "Yes," Lisa nodded. "For Hope's sake, I need to let go of hatred." As the sunset painted the room red, Lisa was surrounded by her new family. Not related by blood, but bound by love, respect, and trust. A true family. Mother believed that social status and family honor were everything, Lisa said quietly. "But I will choose a different path. With hope." Outside the window, a leaf danced in the wind, carried to a new place. It seemed to symbolize the beginning of Lisa's new life. In the days following the accident, a profound grief settled over Lisa like a heavy shroud. As she lay in the hospital bed, staring at the sterile white ceiling, waves of sorrow crashed through her, unrelenting and raw. The loss of her unborn child, a tiny life she had secretly cherished, dreamed about, and begun to prepare for, felt like an irreplaceable void carved into her soul. She mourned not just the baby she would never hold, but the future they might have shared, the first kicks she had eagerly awaited, the lullabies she had whispered in quiet moments, and the strength she had drawn from knowing she was bringing new life into the world despite the challenges. Each time she placed a trembling hand on her now flat abdomen, fresh tears welled up, carrying with them a deep, aching emptiness that no words could soothe. The pain was compounded by the cold indifference of her mother and sister, whose words had twisted her grief into something shameful, as if her child's existence had been a burden rather than a blessing. Lisa felt betrayed not only by the deliberate act that had stolen her baby, but by the family she had once trusted, forcing her to confront the harsh reality that love could be conditional and cruel. Yet, amid the devastation, a quiet resolve began to flicker within her. The injustice of it all, the calculated tampering that had targeted both her and her innocent child, ignited a fierce determination to uncover the truth and seek justice. She grieved deeply, allowing herself to feel every shard of heartbreak, but she refused to let it consume her entirely. For the sake of the child she had named hope in her heart, Lisa vowed to honor that lost life by emerging stronger, surrounded by those who offered genuine compassion. In her darkest moments, she whispered promises to her baby, that she would remember, that she would heal, and that she would build a life filled with the unconditional love her child had deserved. This grief, though it would linger forever, became the foundation of her resilience, transforming unbearable loss into a quiet, enduring hope for the future.